Knowledge is power only once it is attained and then used. My name is Émile Leclerc-Rondon. I am coming to you today with an idea that I think is a good starting point for Americans to understand exactly what is happening in Congress. It could be used as a rallying cry for the different groups associated with the Occupy Wall Street or any other grassroots movement. It could also be used to answer questions that are on the minds of any American who wants to know what is really going on in the hallowed, or maybe it should be called the haunted, halls of Congress. The idea is simple. I'll get into the details of implementing it later. Why can't we as a group put money together to hire lawyers to represent the American people in Washington? They could go there and break the bills down into words that are both brief and understandable by us. The results of their work would be posted on the internet. First, we must understand what is going on. If we don't, then how can we decide what action should be taken? In some circles, the Occupy Wall Street movement has been criticized for not having a coherent policy. This would be a start. It would also give all Americans greater knowledge of the way government is functioning. This knowledge can be used as a basis for making truly informed decisions. Individually and/or collectively, we will be better able to express the issues we feel should be addressed by our government. I believe this understanding, along with appropriately asserting ourselves, would catch the attention of Congress. If we do, we will have a greater chance of them listening to what we have to say. Before I go any further, I want to stress that this idea is based on teamwork. It will allow us to play a more active role in the decisions made by our elected officials. It must be this way. Our Constitution guarantees that no single American should control the destinies of the rest of us. If we work together, using the knowledge we will have gained, the opportunities to see real change in government will be almost limitless. The teamwork involved in this plan will also allow each of us to take our lives to levels we may have never dreamed of. Each of us must think of ways to make our lives better. If we do, America can regain its title as the world leader in technology, manufacturing, innovation, and job creation. We can also become the leaders of many other important categories. I am a news junkie, and I've learned of a few things that stand out regarding the topic I'm discussing. Some of them are insulting to me. However, one recent development shows me that our government is capable of positive change. The Occupy Wall Street movement was the topic of a roundtable discussion on one news program. One member likened it to the protests of the late 1960s and early 1970s. The comparison was that none had coherent policies. It was inferred that this was the reason the majority of the next 7 presidents were from one political party. I'm registered as an independent. I just want Congress to stop tying the hands of whomever it is we choose to be president. Did you know that any bill before Congress can be amended to negate a previous part of, or even another amendment to, the same piece of legislation? It would take careful scrutiny by a lawyer to even understand what happened. To make matters worse, many members of Congress don't even read the fully amended bills before voting on them. I think that some members of Congress would welcome the opportunity to see the final or finally amended bills written in a short and concise way. I've always been a fan of irony. My next statement will show you why. I was going to mention that members of Congress are the only people who can trade stocks based on inside information. On Wednesday, February 8th, I heard how lobbyists were being paid to gather such information. The story was that the government was cracking down on those entities who were paying for the information. The next day, Thursday, I heard that both houses of Congress voted to ban inside trading by any member. I have to say I was impressed by the results. To me, it says that positive change is more than possible. It can be accomplished when we are able to see what is going on inside of, instead of being choked by, the Beltway. I'd like to see what becomes of the following situation. A lobbyist can throw a fundraising dinner for a member of Congress to get around the $50 entertainment limit. These dinners could raise tens of thousands of dollars for the guest of honor. Don't you think that would impress anybody more than a meal and a drink would? From what I understand, the differences between the two sides are not very significant. I have seen groups of 5-year-olds at a playground settle their differences in more mature ways. They don't back away from each other and bury their heads over a disagreement on the right design for their sandcastle. Has anyone ever wondered why diverse ideas usually end in common solutions, yet diverse ideologies usually end in all too common conflicts? If this idea is accepted, the focus has to be on solving common problems using diverse ideas. If the focus is solely based on ideologies, we may end up looking like we're running for elective offices. I'm assuming that many of you are asking, how can we pay for this idea? I suggest that each individual group agree on a charter for their operation. Then they can elect a board to oversee the business end of their group. The monies collected would be put into a credit union or bank or savings and loan company. The major points are as follows. If 10,000 people put an average of $20 per year into a fund of their choice, we would be well on our way to achieving this goal of attaining the knowledge needed to take other steps. Teamwork is necessary for success, no matter in which direction each group decides to go. Allowing each individual group to handle their own finances assures that teamwork will be a major focal point. Once we know what is really going on in Washington, we will become the proverbial big brother. We will be able to watch over the actions of those who are supposed to represent our interests. We will also be watching what the lobbyists who represent large corporations are doing. Together, we could change the tide in Washington faster than global warming would be capable of doing. Our government was designed to protect us from things that we cannot protect ourselves against. We cannot let Congress know what parts of government are important to us if we don't level the playing field by having our own people in Washington lobbying for what we think is important. I'm sure there are professionals of all different kinds who are already a part of the movement. I don't know the mechanics of how to set up the banking and distribution of the donations we must depend upon. Why not use some of the monies collected to pay those who do? That is another advantage of people with different abilities working together to solve common problems. Personally, I know that I may not like the answers to every question I ask, but I will never get an answer to the questions I don't ask. I also know that the biggest obstacle to my personal growth is the person I see in the mirror every morning when I shave my face. Asking for help will get me over or around anything life can throw at me. However, there are times when I need to step out of my own way. A healthy self-identity is much lighter than an inflated ego. I want to end this composition on a personal note. Jobs and the economy top the list of the concerns we have. The only government agency that is required to pay its own way is the Postal Service. It is made up of people who work hard to support themselves and their families. I like receiving personal letters delivered by an always courteous postal employee. Letters are how history has been recorded since languages became standardized. I'm old school when it comes to writing. What I am reading is the final and 8th edit. The first 7 were written by hand. It is easier for me to compose my works by hand, especially because a closed head injury causes me to experience symptoms of dyslexia when I am not completely focused on the task at hand. I just gave you a long version of why I am going to snail mail my feelings about the current situation to each senator and representative from Louisiana. I would like to leave you with one final thought. If the roof of your house becomes alarmingly unstable, do you have it demolished, or do you start at the foundation and correct any possible flaws as you move upwards? I pray this idea will help all Americans for the reasons I just stated, as well as opening dialogue among all of us, no matter what our personal beliefs may be. Thank you for your time.